There's a number that used to mean nothing to me. 118 Fahrenheit, 48 Celsius, if that's how you think about it. Just a number either way. Now it's the temperature outside my house at 2 in the afternoon. And here's what I keep wondering, lying in my basement waiting for the power to come back on. At what point does a place just stop being livable? Is there a number? Is there a line you cross, and after that it's not a hot day anymore? It's something else? I used to think that question was for scientists. Now I think it might be for me. Today, on this street. Let me back up. I used to think about money, the mortgage, the car payment, whether I could afford to eat out on a Friday. Small problems. Good problems, honestly, though I didn't know it then. I had a backyard. I had a big maple tree on the side of the house. The kind that drops leaves you have to rake every fall. I used to complain about that. Raking leaves. I'd give almost anything to rake leaves again. It didn't happen overnight. That's the thing nobody tells you about something like this. There's no single day where everything changes. It's slower than that, sneakier. One summer is a little hotter than the last. You adjust. You run the air conditioner a little more. The next summer is hotter still. You adjust again. And somewhere in there, without anyone announcing it, hot summer became every summer, and every summer became something else entirely. The trees on my street started coming down a few years before any of this got bad. Not because of the heat, because of a development project 2 blocks over. New houses needed wider roads, more parking, fewer liability issues, whatever that meant. I remember standing in my driveway watching them take down the big oak on the corner lot first, the one that used to shade half the street in the afternoon. I thought, that's a shame. I thought about it for maybe 10 minutes, then I went back to my life. You don't know what a tree is doing for you until it's gone. Not really. You can read about it. Heat islands, urban canopy, all those terms that sound like a homework assignment. But knowing it and feeling it are different things. That oak was doing something every single day, quietly, for free, and none of us were paying attention. The street got hotter first, then the houses. My backyard went from nice in the morning to don't touch the fence in summer in about a year. We started running the AC more. Everyone did. The whole block did. You could hear it. That low hum from every unit on every house. All of us pulling cool air out of nowhere and pushing hot air back outside into a street that was already too hot, making the outside worse to make the inside bearable. Nobody thinks about where the heat goes. It doesn't disappear. It just goes somewhere else, usually onto the sidewalk, usually onto the next house's wall. I want you to picture my street that summer. Picture it from above. Every house running its AC at full blast. All of those units pumping heat outward into a neighborhood with fewer trees every year to slow any of it down. We were all, every one of us, quietly making it worse for each other, and every one of us thought we were just trying to stay cool. That was 3 summers ago. I didn't know it was the beginning of anything. Nobody did. It was just a hot summer. We'd had hot summers before. We're from a hot state. But the next one was worse, and the one after that worse again. And here's the part that still gets me. Even as it got worse, I kept telling myself it would level off. Surely it levels off. Surely there's a ceiling. There wasn't. And that's the question again, isn't it? If there's no ceiling, what's the floor? How bad does the day actually get before something gives? This morning I woke up at 5. Not by choice, by necessity. 5 to 7 is the window now, the 2 hours where it's almost livable outside. After 7, the heat comes up off the asphalt like something solid, like you could lean on it. By 9, the street is empty. Not because anyone told people to stay inside, because nobody can be out there. 90, then 100, then by early afternoon, 110, 115. 118 Fahrenheit. Some days, 48 Celsius. The kind of heat where the air doesn't feel like air anymore. It feels like something pressing on you. I went out at 5:30. The power grid runs rolling blackouts now, scheduled by zone, and ours is midday, 11 to 4, every day, like clockwork. If the AC's been off for 4 hours by 2 o'clock, the house gets a dangerous fast. So mornings are for the cooling center 2 miles down, the old community rec center they retrofitted with industrial units that run on a separate grid line. You go, you sit in the cold for as long as you can stand the crowd, and you go home before the heat really starts. The street was almost unrecognizable from how I remembered it. Half the houses have plywood over the west-facing windows now, cheaper than new glass, blocks the afternoon sun. The asphalt has these cracks running through it, deep ones, like the road just gave up. There's a house at the end of the block that's been empty since last year. The people who lived there packed up and left for somewhere with more shade, more grid capacity, more of everything we don't have much of anymore. I'll come back to that house in a minute. There's something about it that still gets me. I was walking to the cooling center when I saw it. The one big tree left on our street. There's exactly one, a sycamore, in someone's front yard. The only thing on the whole block that still throws real shade. There were 6 or 7 people sitting under it on folding chairs and coolers. Just sitting. Not talking much. Just being in the shade of one tree at 5:40 in the morning before the heat made even that impossible. I stood there for a second and I thought about that oak. The one they took down for the road project. I tried to remember what it looked like. I couldn't. Not really. Just that it was big and it was there and then it wasn't, and I went back to my life. That empty house at the end of the block? Same family that used to rake leaves under that oak. Every fall, back when raking leaves was something people complained about. I made it to the cooling center by 6. Sat there with maybe 40 other people from the neighborhood, all of us just sitting in the cold air, not saying much, charging phones, refilling water bottles from the big jugs they keep stocked. 2 hours of just existing somewhere that isn't actively trying to cook you. Then, back home before the blackout starts, we seal the house up now. Tape over the gaps, blackout curtains on every window, because every degree of outside heat that gets in during the blackout hours is a degree your AC has to fight when it kicks back on. The basement is the only room that stays bearable through the afternoon. I don't know exactly why. Nobody's fully figured it out, it just does. And then you wait. That's most of the day now. 4 hours in the basement, sometimes with a battery fan, waiting for 4 o'clock and the grid coming back. You don't do much. You can't really concentrate. You just sit and you wait and you think. I think about the trees a lot during those hours. I don't know why it's trees, specifically. Maybe because they're the easiest thing to picture. A tree is simple. You can hold the whole idea of a tree in your head. The shade, the leaves, the cool air underneath it on a hot day. It's harder to picture a heat island effect or a tree canopy percentage or any of the numbers people use to argue about online. But a tree, everyone can picture a tree. Everyone at some point parked their car under one without thinking twice about it. We had so many trees on this street. I didn't plant most of them. I didn't cut them down either. That was developers, city planning decisions, votes at meetings I never went to, for reasons that probably made sense to someone at the time. But I lived under those trees. I parked under them. I never once thought about saying thanks, because you don't thank something you assume will always be there. By 2 in the afternoon, the basement is as cool as it's going to get, which isn't very, and you just exist in it. You don't read much, you don't think clearly, you lie as still as possible, and you wait. And around 3:30, 4, it starts to ease. The grid comes back. The AC kicks on upstairs. Not cool yet. Just less. Less is enough to function again. Less is the whole goal of the day. And then in the evening, when it's less, people come out. Not for long. An hour, maybe 2, before the dark brings its own kind of heat. The houses and the asphalt release everything they soaked up all day, so even night isn't really cool anymore, just less bright. But for that hour, the street has people on it. Neighbors checking on each other, kids who've been inside all day. Someone always asks if anyone's heard anything new about the grid schedule, like it might change, even though it never has. I sat on my back porch last evening, the one I used to complain didn't get enough shade in the morning, and I looked over at that sycamore, 2 houses down. 6 or 7 people again, different ones this time, sitting under it in the dusk. And I thought about something I read once, a long time ago, before any of this. It said a single mature tree can cool the air around it by several degrees, like a natural air conditioner, except it doesn't push the heat anywhere else. It just handles it, quietly, for free, for decades, if you let it. We had hundreds of those on this street alone. Free air conditioners, decades old, doing their job every single day, asking for nothing. And one by one, for reasons that each made sense at the time. A road, a development, a parking lot, a view. We took them down. Not maliciously, not even thoughtlessly, really. Just one decision at a time, none of them feeling big enough to matter. So, back to the question. At what point does a place stop being livable? I used to think it would look dramatic. A headline, a siren, something you'd see coming. It doesn't look like that. It looks like a sycamore tree with 6 folding chairs under it at 5:45 in the morning. It looks like 40 people sitting quietly in a rec center charging their phones, not talking about the thing they're all there for. It looks like a number on a thermostat that used to be a joke. Hot enough for you? And now isn't a joke at all. 118:48. I don't know if that's the line. Maybe there isn't one single line. Maybe it's just this slower, quieter, one tree and one summer at a time, until you look up one day and realize you're already on the other side of it, and you have been for a while. I think about that oak sometimes. The one on the corner. The one they took down for a road that, honestly, never even got that much busier. I think about how easy it would have been to leave it. Nobody needed it gone. It just wasn't anybody's job to say so. That's the part I keep coming back to. Not the heat. The fact that it was always somebody's choice. Every single tree. And never once did the choice feel like it mattered. Until it did. If this is the kind of thing you want to keep hearing about, other places, other people, other versions of this same slow shift, subscribe. That's the only thing I'll ever ask.